everyone, welcome to Lesson Up Squad. And today we're not doing a lesson, we will be doing and talking about my CA journey. A lot of you have asked me questions about how I've reached that journey, what the journey has been like, what is the journey like currently, and I'd like to share my experience with you. So as you guys can see, you guys sent me a lot of questions. I've tried to summarize most of the questions now, and we're going to take it from the top. But before I even start, and this is an advice for any profession that you're going to follow, be it the CA profession or any other profession. Studying, when you're studying, it's not as the content, yes, it's important. What you're studying is important. But what's more important is what you learn from the journey of studying. So maybe let me give you an example, right? As you've grown older, by the time you're in grade 12, you might be able to teach somebody maths in grade 7. You might not necessarily study towards a teacher's degree, but you will be able to teach a grade 7 learner maths, right? If you've got the teaching skills. So even if you don't know the content, you're going to be able to teach if you have those skills. What I'm trying to say is that you hear very often with the CA degree that it's a very hard degree and it's a difficult journey, people don't pass, and there's a lot of negative energies involved with being a CA. I think what's more important to understand in this journey is that being a CA is a lifestyle. It's going to teach you skills. It's a training journey. So it's not just about the content you learn with being a CA. It's really not about just learning accounting and being a master at accounting. That's one part of it. The more important and the more valuable part is that it changes you as a person. It trains you to become somebody you could have never thought to become. Yes, the CA journey is difficult. It is one of the most toughest training course you will ever know, but that shouldn't make you feel like you can't study it. Many have done it before you, and people will continue to do it whether you choose to do it or not. So I'm going to quickly now start from the top about the process of becoming a CA. Okay, so the process of, let me talk about what the CA journey is. So you've got the whole minimum. As a minimum, you study a CA in South Africa for 7 years. The first 3 years you do an undergraduate, and the 4th year you would do your honors, which is known as CTA, and the next 3 years you spend doing articles. So article is basically like a paid internship, so it's more like practical experience of the things you've studied. So what you do, your articles usually is in auditing, and which is one of the 4 modules you do at campus, right? So what you study when you do your degree and you do your honors, you do 4 main modules, which is your financial management, your accounting, your tax, and your auditing. And your articles, usually they can be done in other modules, but they're usually done in auditing. And it's basically, like I said, it's the practical version of your auditing theory study, right? So that equips you better until you complete your CA journey. Whilst you're doing your articles, just when you're starting your articles, so that's after your 4th year, at the beginning of your 5th year, you would do your first exam, which is known as the ITC exam. That's a more practical theoretical exams, it's more theoretical exams. And then 18 months later, you would then do a APC exam, which is rather more a practical exam. For the APC exams, you receive your scenario 5 days in advance, and you are able to work in teams. It's a more of a practical exam where you learn more about how you can use your skills and enhance other people's knowledge and things you can learn from other people. And so you have the scenario up front 5 days before, so you get to work through it, learn, and it's something very practical, because in real life as well, you receive questions from your managers 2 or 3 days in advance telling you to please help them with something, and you would be able to go into your books, do your research, so you'd be able to get to them with some research done. So I think that's what the APC aims for. And yeah, but for you as a matriculant, your focus would be currently getting into university. So I know one of the question was best university to study for accounting. So I studied at the University of Pretoria. There are many other good universities out there in South Africa. What you need to make sure when choosing a university is that the degree that you're getting from that university, it's accredited, right? And my advice for those applying at university currently is start early. So when you're at university, don't take it easy and think, okay, it's the first year. I passed first year, second year is going to be a breeze. The CA journey is a constant studying journey. So make sure that you put your time up front. I felt that the better I knew my basics, the easier my years had gone, because I understood my basics. So also, when you're at university, there's a huge mindset change that you need to have. So for example, at university, you can't just study something and not understand why you're studying something, and that causes frustration and it can cause failure. So the key is to always put in enough time into studying, especially at your basic level in your first, second year, so that it can help you with your third year and fourth year. And I think many people underestimate the value of putting in time upfront, and I can tell you that worked splendidly for me. I understood my basics in first and second year, and I could easily build on in my third and fourth year. So my advice is don't take it easy. Um, Obviously, there are times that you will take a break. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that don't underestimate or waste unnecessary time that you don't need to. Also, with becoming a CA, when you do your articles, you can do your articles at many places. We have what we call the Big Four, and I would say that also part of the university of starting early is apply for articles as early as possible. If I remember, I had my learning contract already at the end of grade 12, also just in first year. So I had my contract already in first year. What that does for you is that it takes off that burden from you to be able to you know, being stressed about studying in your future years and trying to find an article. I just think it's better if you get your articles as soon as possible. It puts your mind to ease that, you know what, if I pass, I kind of have a learnership, a job in place as soon as I leave varsity. So I think it's really good if you put in the time upfront and you try to get an article as soon as possible. Also, the other question I had was, yes, sorry, the best university to go to. Like I've said, the best there is. Yes, I've been to UP, but you can go to any university that is accredited. So by accredited, I mean SAICA recognizes the degree of that university. So who is SAICA? SAICA is the South African Institution of Chartered Accountants. What that basically is, the professional body of CAs. We belong to SAICA. So when we are accountable, or we'd get the latest news from SAICA about the CA journey, we'd be able to, you know, it's our accounting professional body. It's the body you belong to. It's the body you're answerable to. It's the body you're responsible to. It's the body that gives you the designation of CASA. So it's just like doctors have certain professional bodies, lawyers have professional bodies, accountants, especially CAs, have a body that is called SAICA. So so you just need to make sure that any university you go to, that would be SAICA accredited. That means the degree you do there, SAICA recognizes your degree. There's no point doing a degree and 4 years later you find out SAICA does not recognize it from this university. There should be a list available. You can also speak to the people at the university. They should be able to guide you. Don't be shy to phone the university and ask. I promise you, there will be somebody who will guide you to a professor who will help you. Do not be shy to do that. Okay, is accounting different from school and harder? Okay, so the real answer is yes, it is very different from what you've done in school. What you did in school was the tip of the iceberg. Maybe I'm exaggerating even if I say it's a tip. What you do in school is really basic. What you learn in school is just to equip you sufficiently in life, just to be able to see how a debit and credit works, what trading stock means, what debtors control means, what creditors control means. It's just to equip you in life. Yes, so I agree that it is different from school and it is harder, but it's not an impossible journey. Also, you must remember, all that you have to learn, you're going to learn in 4 years. I think it becomes a scary journey when you see a fully qualified CA, or if you see somebody complaining about it, how difficult this is in your honors or third year, and you forget you're still in matric. You're going to go through first year, you're going to learn it at first year, you're going to then learn second year, and then you're going to get to third year and honors. And that's kind of something you forget, because you feel like, oh, it's so difficult, how am I going to learn all of this? There's no such thing as you're going to be learning all of this in one day. It's a 4-year journey. In fact, it's a 7-year journey and still counting, because you would still learn every single day after you become a CA. I've genuinely learned every single day after becoming a CA. So it's not like your CA journey just stops after you qualify or after you've graduated. Yes, it's a tough journey, but it's a journey worth it. Nothing is that's worth it in life will ever come easy, right? So granted, it's a difficult journey, but there's going to be a course. There's a course planned out by the lecturers that is there for you to be able to equip yourself and learn. Like, it's not something you just get into and you need to know everything from school. There are people that do CA essays without having doing accounting at school. So that actually tells you it really doesn't even matter what level of accounting you do at school. It really doesn't. It's a norm. I still remember, if I was a student in accounting. I had a distinction when I was in matric, and my first year test at university was at a class test that I actually had a 49%, for 48 or 49%. So basically I didn't pass because you need a 50%. And the shock I had that day was, oh my God, how could I have not passed being an A student? And that's a mindset you will need to walk in with, to understand it is normal. You don't take that to heart. I took that failure and I made sure that I gave it enough time. I gave enough time to my journey. I gave enough time to understanding basics. I always emphasize on understanding why. And that really, really paid off at the end. There was nothing. If I could equip you with one skill, it's always understand why you're doing something. If you understand why you're doing something, you're going to be absolutely fine, irrespective of the question you're put forward with, because you have the ability to think why. So always prompt yourself to think why. Don't accept it just because it was done in school or class or in a lecture that way. No, ask why, and I promise you that will help you enhance yourself and be able to study better even at university. All right, next question. How difficult is it if you're good at accounting in high school? Like I've said, what you do at high school is just the very tip of the iceberg. It is very different, but it's not impossible. It is genuinely not impossible. It just requires a lot of time and dedication. It requires you to be truly dedicated to it. You truly gotta want to be a CASA to be able to do accounting. It takes people a minimum of 7 years. It takes people 10 years. It can take people 15 years. It can take somebody 20 years. And I don't think there's any shame for how long this journey takes you, because it is not one of the most easy courses, if not in the entire world. It's really something that requires a lot of dedication. So it is going to make you feel as if it's a very difficult course, but dedication will get you through. I promise you that. Okay, how many years does it take to become a CA? I've explained that already. It takes 7 years to be a CA, of which 3 years you're studying undergraduate, 1 year's honors, which is known as CTA, and then you've got your 3 years of articles with two exams in those articles. And that gives you a minimum of 7 years to become a CA. But like I said, if you're actually even studying at a university like at UNISA, I know sometimes the honors is split into 2 years automatically. Sometimes at UNISA, people that usually do study part-time also choose a longer route to go with. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with completing a CA in 10 years or 7 years. The person who's completed it in 7 years, 10 years, 15 years is just as good as the person who did it in his first time. It really is not an issue if you take longer than what you should be. Okay, what should you do if you don't meet the requirements for studying towards a CA? So I would suggest that if you don't meet the requirement for becoming a CA and you really want to become a CA, is take BCom Accounting General as your first choice. If not, take any other courses in BCom. So what that will do is that you will have the opportunity to apply for accounting again in the second year, and you will probably do your accounting subject of the first year, and but you will be credited for all the subjects you've already done in your BCom Accounting General. So you don't need to redo those subjects. The university will credit you. So try to do a degree as close as possible if you don't always get into your first choice, because what that happens is in your second year you can still apply for it. You might need to, it might take you 6 months or a year longer, but you will still get to your goal. Can you study towards CA from home? Yes, you probably can from UNISA. You can. UNISA does do studying at home, so you will be able to do it at home. And yeah, I would suggest though is to go to a university if possible. I know some of you are working, but if you are doing it by your own personal choice and you think studying at home is easy and that's why you want to do it, I would say no. I'd rather have you study at the university because you have access to lecturers, you've got access to your peers. Not that you don't have access to your lecturers at UNISA. It's not that. It's just that I'm somebody who always wanted to knock at the lecturer's door and ask them questions. So I think I was just that person who wanted that. But obviously, given also COVID-19, we don't know what the future impact will be. So we don't know. Currently, University of Pretoria is also studying online at home. So we don't know how far it will go, what's going to happen. So try to take a decision based on the point when you're taking a decision, what the circumstances are. But if you can, I would suggest to go to a university. If not, it's fine. It's not like nobody has ever done it through UNISA. Please do it through UNISA. It's just a preference that I have. Okay, best firms to consider for articles, and you need articles to qualify. Yes, so you definitely need articles to qualify. It's part of the SAICA requirements. When you're also doing your articles, SAICA has a set of, I almost want to call it a to-do list, a task which they call competencies, which are basically a to-do list. It's a task that tells you, okay, you need to do this in your articles. Your manager needs to confirm that you've done it, you know how to do it. And once all these tasks and competencies are signed off, are you able to become a CA? So in these 3 years, you have to make sure that you do different sections. I'm going to give you a very high level example, such as doing a bank reconciliation. So you must have done a bank reconciliation a certain times. Your manager must have said, okay, yes, you know how to do it. And at the end of your 3 years, SAICA will look at all these tasks, how many times you've done it, and how well you've done it. And based on that, you will be able to qualify. So you do need to do your articles. If you do not do your articles, you cannot unfortunately qualify. Then best firms to consider for articles. So we've got the big 4 firms, what we call the big 4 firms, which is your EY, Deloitte, KPMG, and PwC. And then you've also got your medium tier firms, and then you've got your smaller firms. So almost like the firms are divided into 3 sections. I did my articles at PwC. There's really nothing wrong with doing your articles at any of the firm. But I found when I started applying for jobs afterwards, a lot of companies would want to see or want a candidate from a big 4 firm. Articles are the same everywhere. I have friends in all firms, big firms, small firms, medium firms, everywhere. And I can tell you the content of the work we all did was more or less the same. And articles and the content of the work you basically will be doing is the same. It's just that your journey will be different. So for example, I did my articles in mining, hospitals, construction. I did a soccer club. I've done manufacturing. And that was the clients I had. And your article journey will differ to another candidate because of the clients you have. But there's no right, there's no wrong. There's not like one industry is, I would say, preferred over the others, or one person would get a job because they did it they had listed clients and somebody won't get a job because they didn't have listed clients. We all have different struggles, and at different time, I almost want to say, um, sometimes you are not meant for a certain job, so you just don't get it. It really doesn't have to do with the fact that you didn't have a listed client. But once again, having said all of this, I do find that recruiters, when you look for a job, want to know if you've done articles at a Big Four. So I would say, personally, do your articles, try and do your articles at a Big Four, try and get a contract or a learnerships at the Big Four. If you can't, please don't stress yourself out. There's nothing wrong. Chat to me if you need to, but consider the medium firms or the smaller firms, because articles are vital. If you're going to be adamant about only getting articles at a big firm and you're not getting an article at the big firm because maybe the big firms are full, they're not hiring, especially with this COVID-19, and you end up with no articles, you're not going to be able to qualify, which is even a worse position to be in. So try your best. If you can't, there's another option, and which is not the wrong option. There's nothing absolutely wrong with doing it at a medium or small firm. I've also had people actually tell me that at a small firm they get more exposure, which is good for experience. At a bigger firm, you'll get like your listed clients, right? Like you'll get your Sasols and your Life Healthcare Hospitals, your Group 5 constructions. You'll have all these listed clients to be able to audit. And each one's journey will differ. There's not two single article clerks that will tell you they've had the same identical journey. And also, articles is what you make of it. A lot of people complain about articles, and I find that a lot of school learners speak to people doing articles, which is also a bad thing because they're gone through studying. Now they're doing articles, and they might be able to unintentionally push you back towards not studying this because they feel it's difficult. The CA journey is genuinely what you make it about. I went every single day to the office with the mindset that I am going to learn something new today. And bet you can, the best part of it was I learned something every single day. There was not a single day that I didn't learn something. I went in with the intention to learn, and I got out of it was a good lesson. And that's the mindset you need to have with the CA journey throughout. Even when you fail, what am I learning out of it? What did I get wrong? What didn't I understand? Your failure teaches you much more than your success does. I always say, fail your way to success, hey? If you're just passing, if you constantly just keep passing, you're not going to know what you're doing wrong. So it's okay to fail once in a while. If it happens, it happens. You don't stress yourself out. You don't work yourself out. You're going to be easy on yourself. All right, type of mindset and skill needed to be a CA. I've talked about this already, so you kind of need to be very determined, very patient, very dedicated, and hardworking. So, and the mindset like you need is a learning mindset, like I've just spoken about that. The mindset that it's okay to fail. If you failed, you go for it again. It doesn't matter. You always have that mindset, what did I learn from my failure? Other skills CASA might need, not necessarily in the program. So I think one skill that might need is a Microsoft Excel skill, a really good Microsoft Excel. I know the universities teach it to us in our first year, but by the fourth year, it's quite rusty. Some people remember it, most people don't. I was one of the most. I survived. When you get to the office your first day in your articles, you will have somebody to help you. So don't stress yourself about learning Excel and going for any fancy course. I don't think it's a requirement. I've learned all my Excel while I was working. Other skills you need is judgmental and skeptical. So what that means is when you're in articles, you realize that you may request your client for many things and you may get a lot of theories for something. So if you ask a client a simple question such as revenue went high and can you tell me why did the revenue increase this year compared to last year? And the client will give you a beautiful explanation. You get back to your seat and you realize, oops, your formula was wrong. Revenue actually went down. So you go back to the client and the client will give you another beautiful story. Meaning it is often that people can justify what they're saying. You need to be able to critically assess and think, well, is this true? And always ask more questions. Never be shy to ask questions, even if it's your client, even when 4 years down the line, when you're doing your articles, remember this. Always ask questions. If you don't ask the question, you're going to miss something. So if you don't understand something, Ask the client. It's not expected of you to understand the client system immediately and instantly. It takes years of good practice to understand how the client environment works. And the best way to do it is only to ask questions and not just rely on prior working papers, what we called working papers. It's not the best thing. So one of the other skills you would need is to just be more skeptical about the information you're getting. So if the client tells you revenue increased for this reason, you question it to yourself first. Is it true? Can it be true? So you kind of need that questioning curiosity in you. Do you use maths after you qualify as a CASA? Not really. You use maths to the extent of numbers, just like you see any other numbers. You would use maths. You don't really calculate algebra or trigonometry or any of those sine, cos, tan things as a CA. In fact, after matric, you won't use it in accounting. So you'd only use maths to the extent of adding, minusing, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, those sort of things. Nothing extreme or hectic. Hardest thing about being a CA is sticking to the journey and not listening to a lot of negative voices. Before you start the journey, you'll get a lot of people telling you don't do it. During the journey, you might hit a bump. There's more of a chance you hitting the bump than not hitting the bump, and you actually just feeling like those people were right, I should have given up. And when you're closer to the journey, when you're doing your exams, you'll get people saying it's difficult, just don't do it, it's not worth it. The CA journey is worth it if you make it worth it. In fact, any career is only worth it if you live for it. So if you want to make it worth it, and if you're passionate about it, and you understand what you're doing, why you're doing, and what you want to do in the world about it, you will be able to make a difference. But if you treat it like an 8 to 9, 8 to 4 job, you're going to be miserable about it constantly. If you treat it as a pain, if you treat it as a mistake in your life, you're going to feel the regret of it. Okay, is becoming a CA stressful? I think choosing any good career is stressful, but it's healthy stress. Stress does not mean it's bad. Stress, more importantly with stress, is how you manage the stress. Okay, some people do not manage it well. Does not mean they cannot manage it well. There's a lot of good stress management techniques out there about calming yourself, eating right, or even exercising, listening to calming music, sleeping well. There's a lot of things that can help you de-stress, and none of these have to be expensive medicine, doctor appointments, or anything. Google search, find out what works for you, try and make it work. Keep yourself calm, knowing where you came from and what you're going to do in this journey. Don't let failures pull you down. I'm saying this again. Failure is not a bad thing. It really is not. It's unfortunate. The society we're brought up in makes us feel that being a failing at something is bad, especially at school. If you failed an accounting exam, it's bad. How can you fail an accounting exam or a maths exam or a science exam? Failing is not bad. Failing is only bad if you actually failed and you accepted it. If you failed and you didn't accept it, you're the winner. You're the one who's won out of this journey. So yes, becoming a CA is stressful, but it's about how you manage stress. And there's no such thing as I can't manage stress, I'm always stressed out. As you grow older, you will be able to manage your stress better. You get more. Think about it. When you were a kid, the hardest choices you had was which toy to play with, or which friend to make, or which ice cream to choose. And as you've grown older, then in grade 9, you had to make the decision of which courses to choose. So as you get older, the decisions you make also get a little complex. And I feel that there's always support available to be helping you through the CA journey. You do not have to feel like you're alone in this. So as much as it's stressful as any other normal thing in life. It can literally be anything. There's people that have personal life experiences that are more stressful than studying. So I don't think you shouldn't study something because it's stressful. Yes, it's stressful. I say this again, but I say this even louder, that it's very manageable. It is manageable if you manage it. You're going to require discipline to manage that stress. which means if you decide not to pay attention in first and second year, you will pay the brunt in third year. If you decide not to be dedicated in your studying, you will pay the price of it somewhere. That stress is caused by you personally, and that's the kind of stress I'm talking about to manage. You need to make sure that you don't build yourself up to that level where you're actually going to stress out. If you've got an exam in 2 weeks, please study for the exam. Don't assume that it's going to be okay, and then get 2 days before exam and feel stressed out. That's a stress you call upon yourself. So most of the stress is stress you managing and disciplining yourself towards studying. All right. How to deal with stress and workload during the journey. I've already mentioned that. It's mostly about how you manage yourself, how you manage your time also. Make sure, like I've said this before, don't waste your time onto unnecessary things. I honestly spent a lot of my time studying at the university, and as I stand today, I've got no regrets. I did what I needed to do. I was on my track. I made sure if I didn't understand something, I always knocked the lecturer's door. They knew. Without an appointment, I would pitch up, knock the door. I would even email them and tell them, can I please come through? I know it's not your consulting hour now, but I'd really like to come see you through. And they were more than willing to help. Trust me, there is so much of help available if you reach out. If you don't reach out, you are just another number to the lecturers. Is becoming a CA worth it? So I've talked about this, and I tell you that yes, the short answer is yes. But also, I know people that become miserable with their careers, not just a CA. I know of people that are doctors and are miserable. I know of people that are dentists that are miserable. I know of people that are teachers and they are miserable. Being miserable has nothing to do with a career. It's a mindset. So yes, becoming a CA is worth it if you make it worth it. If you realize you need to sit back and ask yourself, what do you want out of the CA journey? What is it that you want to become? What is it that you want to do for the world? What is your aim? What is your goal? And if you've got a goal or an aim that is going to contribute towards the goodness of this world, being a CA will be worth it, right? And for me, currently, it's a very satisfying position I'm in. I would not choose a different career. So it's worth it if you make it worth it like anything else. You manifest that in your world, in your life, in your little life that you live in. You tell yourself, you attract the good energy and the positive energy to tell yourself that becoming a CA is worth it because I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And you will see how worth it this journey becomes for you. Is it easy to get a job? So being a CA, especially in a country where we live, where we've almost got a almost 50% unemployment rate, being a CA does have a better chance of getting you a job, has a much better chance of getting you a job. I think CAs are really valued, not just in South Africa, but the training we receive in South Africa is so good. We're actually respected in other countries. I did my secondment in the States, and the people I worked with actually appreciated my knowledge, my training, because they realized that I could do something so well, and it only was because of the training I've had. So yes, it is easier to get a job in CA. If you're a CA in South Africa, yes, there would be a job opportunity for you. Look, there are circumstances where things happen. We don't know what the job market looks like in the next 4 years, especially because things in the current stage seem to be moving more online. So we don't know what will the job market look like in 4 years. But on a reasonable basis, there will be a demand for a CA. It's not like CAs are going to go extinct. The next question, better to work in public or private sector? I think this is both. It's a complete preference. Really, there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's a complete preference. I don't think there are some benefits that are in the public sector that are not in the private sector. There's some benefits in the private sector that's not in the public sector. I think it's genuinely about what you prefer as a person. What does a CASA do? Very interesting question. So CASA literally can do anything and everything. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. A CASA can open up their own business, be an auditor, can become a teacher, accounting teacher if they want to, can become a lecturer if they want to, can write a book if they want to. I don't think being a CA stops you from anything. You could open up your company, and literally being on a daily job, on a day-to-day, you can actually choose a job that suits you. There's so many varieties of being a CA. You can be in risk auditing, you can be in internal auditing, you can be in external auditing, you can be a financial manager, you can be a corporate accountant. The list is genuinely endless. There is so much to be able to do with a CA. You can open up your own business, you can complete your MBA, you can literally do anything with a CA. The training is so rigorous and the training is so well put together that it trains you for anything that comes into your way. You can open up your own company and be able to provide other people's services. You can stay to articles, which, I mean, you can stay in auditing, which is basically where you audit other companies. You can become maybe I don't know, a financial director, a financial manager who manages finance. There's people who go into consulting, business services, risk analysis, creditors role, debtors role. Genuinely, CA is the highest degree in accountancy. So you can do anything in finance, and I have felt that not only in finance, you could actually open up a business that's not related to being a CA. You could open up a lot of other things. You could open up an insurance company. I mean, some of our banks have been opened up by CAs. They were started and initiated by CAs. CAs are natural, and I believe they're natural entrepreneurs. They're people that's going to find a way to make money for themselves and benefit other people, because that's the training we're given. We're constantly working. Our mind is on the constant chase of working and hungry for knowledge. And I think that plays a huge part in the type of job you end up doing. But I don't think you should be too stressed about a job currently. You will find something that you definitely enjoy. There's people that become coaches just after becoming a CA. Really, the possibilities are genuinely endless. You just have to find something that suits your time, has a work-life balance that works for you, and has something that makes you happy to do, something you feel like you're contributing value to. Do I enjoy being a CA or have any regrets? No, no regrets at all. I love being a CA and I wouldn't choose a career any other way. I'm an internal auditor. I'm an entrepreneur. So I have my own business, and I am currently doing this initiative with you guys because I have a passion for teaching. And I still have other hobbies that I keep up with. And all of this is actually, everything I can do is only because of the person I've become, being a CA. I really genuinely do not have any regrets. It's because I've made my life worth living. I chose and I made certain decisions that were going to be good for me, and I chose a job that made me feel like I was adding value to it, suited my lifestyle, and there will be lots of opportunities and lots of jobs that will suit your lifestyle. So you don't need to worry about a job too much right now. Okay, type of job opportunities and scope in South Africa, and are there too many people doing it? Like I've already talked about the type of job opportunities, it's endless. There is a scope in South Africa. Not only in South Africa, there's a scope also outside the country. But even in South Africa, if you're somebody who's gone through your studying, who's gone through your articles, especially if it's a Big Four, there will be a job for you at the end of the day. You're not going to feel as if you've studied and you can't find a job. Finance will always be one of those professions where there will always be a job. There's always a finance person required to run a company. So you shouldn't be too stressed about the job opportunities and scope. Currently, obviously, like I've said, things can change. We don't know what the next 4 or 5 years look like, 6, 7 years maybe. After you're done studying, we do not know. None of us knew that COVID-19 would come through like this with us. So yeah, I think there is a lot of scope in South Africa. Are there many people doing it? So if I remember in my varsity, when I was in first year, the class used to be massive. We had a big class doing accounting. And by the end of the journey, and if I remember, it was around 400 people. And by the end of the journey, we were about 100 people left in the class. And it is because there are many reasons, right? One is people do give up. That's a normal phenomenon of life. People do become tired and people do give up. Sometimes it's just a lack of a mentor. Somebody, you don't have a mentor, you don't know who to look up to, you think you're making a wrong decision, so you just quit because it's easier to do so. So that's one thing. If you can get somebody who's a mentor is somebody who's preferably in the CASA journey so that they can encourage you and guide you. So that will give you a bit of courage. Yes, so people do quit. There are many people who started off, not everybody ends it off, and I don't think you need to worry about if there's many people doing it, because there would be enough opportunity for each of you. Each of you have something different to contribute in this world, something nobody else can contribute. So if you're doing the CA journey, the contribution you bring to this profession will be unique to you. Opportunities to work from home and abroad. So there'll be very limited opportunities to work from home, unless like we hit this time of being in COVID-19, where people are encouraged to work at home. But under normal circumstances, I've always had to work at client. I've always had to go to client to be able to work, and working abroad. So there are plenty of opportunities abroad. I know of many people that have actually gone abroad and settled with their CASA designation. So really, I think the CASA opens doors for you. Literally opportunities nationally and internationally. You don't have to stress about it. Often you would actually get opportunities from your firm. So it is very much possible to settle abroad with this designation. And the last questions. Will CAs be in demand in 40 to 50 years? So to be quite honest, I am not somebody who can foresee that, but I don't think, even with the introduction of artificial intelligence and robotics in the industry itself, I don't see that the need for us humans to cease entirely. I don't think the ability given to humans to think skeptically, make judgment calls, can be entirely put into a robot. Not entirely, not 100%. There will always be some elements of judgment, human judgment required. So I don't think I'd be too worried about 40 to 50 years of time. Each profession adapts to its need with the time. So you'll see when you study, by the time you've completed your study in 7 years, you would have things slightly different to my journey because they no longer exist. For example, I did my articles on a computer entirely. People I've spoken to did articles by paper, but that didn't take the need away for a CA. We've just adapted with time, and that's literally with any profession. Any profession will always adapt with time. We can't say for sure what the CA as a profession will look like in 50 years, but I do know it will be there because it is quite needed. A finance department is always very critical to the running of the company. Think about it. A finance can tell you how much money you're making or not. I mean, imagine you have a company and you can't tell that. So CAs will be needed, and our training once again is such that it equips you so well to be able to go into anything. Even after 50 years, if you decide you want to do something else, you would be able to do that because your mind and your energy has already been trained to be able to adapt to so many things. So just in closing, last piece of advice I have for you guys is, if you want to become a CA, then make it your decision and own it. So make it your responsibility, be accountable for it. Don't say that, don't go into the journey thinking, oh, my mom asked me to be a CA, or my cousin asked me to be a CA, or somebody told me you make money in this profession. Don't use one of those elements. Make a decision for yourself. Ask yourself what you want to get out of this journey and commit to it. There is nothing stopping you from becoming a CA if you commit to it. And I promise you that if you commit to this journey, there's nothing that will stop you from being a CA. But make sure it's your decision. It's a decision you want to take. It's a decision that makes you happy. Do your research, question people, speak to me if you still need help, but stick around and make sure that it is your decision and it's not somebody else's decision. And I don't let somebody make you also negative about this career. Don't let somebody tell you that it's too hard, because the person who's telling you it's too hard either didn't do it or completed theirs already. So if they've completed theirs already, they shouldn't be stopping you from doing it. And if they haven't completed this, then they don't know what the journey is about. So take an advice from somebody who's a qualified person. And I haven't sugarcoated stuff. I've told you it is a difficult journey. It's a journey you will work towards hard. But I don't know of any career that will be worth it to do that you're not going to be actually be stressed, or you're not going to feel a bit difficult through the journey. It's a journey. You're gonna find it difficult at times. And like I said, it's not about the content you're gonna study on this journey as much as it's about the skill, this program, what Saika has put into place, this training program for you to be able to become the person that you will become a dynamic person. So guys, that's all that I have on the CASA journey. Please don't hesitate to ask me questions. I know you guys have been waiting very long for this. Please reach out. Feel free. If you want to DM me on Instagram. Please keep sharing this initiative. Like you, there's many people who need this video, who need to listen to this. Share this video as much as possible so that I can help as much as possible. If you guys need, once again, any help, please feel free to message me, DM me, and I'll try to assist you as much as possible. See you guys. Bye-bye.